So, as many of you know, I have a Hobie Pro Angler 14 feet long kayak, and there's a potential in the future that I might be upgrading to something bigger. So I bought this one in 2014, beginning of 2014. So this is almost 2023. So this thing has seen some major mileage through time, and it's been featured extensively on my channel for almost 9 years now. So one of the things that you have seen is, historically, I put this on top of my kayak and I had this retrofit hoist, and eventually I decided to go with a trailer. And so I had a trailer for the longest time, and then sold it, and then bought a trailer that would be working better for me. The problem is, when I bought that trailer, I didn't truly understand the geometry of the old trailer versus the new one. So my old trailer was a typical kayak trailer that you could buy at Bass Pro Shops, and it had certain dimensions. The tongue of it was yay long, it was yay wide, etc. So it just wasn't working out for me in terms of how easy or difficult it was for me to get it in the water. And in retrospect, I should have done what I'm about to do to this trailer. Hindsight 2020. So for the last several years, I've been using, and I'll explain what all of this means. So I've been using this jet ski trailer. And so one thing that really made my life really easy was a completely different to a traditional kayak trailer setup. Now, see this beam over here? If you were to purchase this trailer in kayak version, this carpeted area would be like across the back and across the back, and then there would be like a beam, right? And so the distance of the kayak would be about 2 feet longer than what this configuration is, and a longer ball where the ball of your vehicle to the axle allows you to turn and back this properly. Also, the width of the actual axle on the kayak trailer is much wider, and I didn't understand how wide it was until I actually looked at the dimensions. So the difference between a kayak trailer and a jet ski trailer is that this is almost 1.5 feet narrower this way, and almost 2, maybe almost 3 feet shorter, back to tail. This has been a nightmare to back up into boat ramps, and it's just, you look like a complete noob doing that, despite the fact that I've been backing up all sorts of trailers, including RVs. And so historically, the layout of the jet ski trailer, like so, allowed me to just get my kayak onto here. And the way those were spaced out, I had the underside of Hobie is kind of like one of those numbers. It's not like a V kayak, V hull. Despite the fact that it's V up front, it's more like underneath, right? So the spacing and the angle of all of this worked beautifully, because I could just right now. My second issue that I had was, every time the wind catches it, the kayak stays in one place. The trailer stays in one place, but the kayak starts doing this number. So I got myself guides, right? All good people. But here's the problem. Because the kayak is so long, nose to tail, and I don't have that part yet. I have it on order. I'm gonna feature it in this video, so you'll see what I'm talking about. Just like in the back, I have my guides. I'm going to have boat guides sitting up front as well to hold and cradle the kayak. And also, another thing that happened was, we have the trailer jack, and this is from typical kayak, jet ski, boat, kayak trailer, etc. So the way this was sitting is majority of the nose, I would say probably from like where the seat is all the way up to the nose, was dangling in the air here on top of this beam, not held up by anything. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is actually installing support, and I'll feature that as well in the video. Just wanted to document some of this before I get too far. So why do I have this kayak trailer all discombobulated? So I can't change the width without changing the axle, right? And I'm just too much of a cheapskate to change the axle as well, so I decided to at the very least change the length, and so that will allow me easier backup into the boat ramp. And when I'm at the boat ramp, it means that I could be further away from the water myself, because so far with the jet ski trailer so short, my water on my pickup goes all the way from here to like there-ish, and I'm not comfortable with being that far in the water to begin with. So as you see, I purchased a different beam. So this is 12 feet long. The stock one is 8 feet long, so this is actually 4 feet longer. And so what's going to happen is, by removing this and extending the beam, I'm gonna be able to have all 4 tires on land, which I'm a little bit more comfortable with. Yesterday I assisted a couple of rangers when this guy almost sank his pontoon trailer and his pickup truck. So he was like about to sink. Nevertheless, so the way this situation is going to happen, I've obviously disassembled everything, and what I've done is I hacked away the side marker lights, and I've ordered new ones. And what I've done is I've placed the back of the beam on the back of the beam and kind of drilled just a smidge through the hole, and then I've flipped the actual beam and flipped this actual beam and drilled from the other side. So on my beam, as you see over here, I've actually placed marks, and I just successfully drilled a hole. So just so you know, when you get to order replacements, so this was bought from custom boat trailer place, and so their thickness for their beam is so much bigger. Oh my goodness, like if you look at this, this is definitely like a 1/4 inch ish, right, versus this which is being half of that. So I was quite concerned about drilling any kind of holes, because technically I gotta replicate the bolt pattern here and up front, so which would be here and here, and also for the side markers as well. And drilling is a big pain. So what I'm doing is very slowly using my WD-40 squirt, and just kind of put one hole for time being. I'm taking it very slow so that I don't overheat the drill, bit. This is very interesting. I'm thankful that the metal is somewhat soft enough for me to drill. In the years past, I used to have a drill press, and in my haste of doing spring cleaning, I decided to throw it out, and I kind of sort of regret it, because otherwise I would have made a quick job of it. Nevertheless, so drilling all those holes are going to allow me to do a couple of things. The very first one is attach that beam up here, over there, and over there, and simultaneously attach the 2-inch hitch coupler, and the trailer jack don't have to drill, the ratchet strap don't have to drill. By the way, you have no idea just how wonderful this is. I get so much mileage out of it. It is crazy. The kayak is heavy to begin with, and doesn't help any that I have injuries after my car accident. So if I could help myself, so I could actually ratchet that entire thing. All I have to do is just lift the front of my nose. By the way, this sits on the trailer indefinitely. I just took it off so I could do this, but all I have to do is just lift the tippy nose to the back of this, and then just ratchet everything else. That's kind of it. So I'm gonna continue with drilling all the holes, and then once I get a lot further with the project, I'll document that as well to get you an idea. Alrighty, so here's somewhat of a midway progress with a lot of issues. I finally got this thing more or less where I want it. Just so you know, if you have to do something like that and you don't have a drill press, good luck trying to drill holes in the right places. You could, measure 75,000 times and still doesn't fit. So I had to drill and re-drill and enlarge holes. Miraculously, this one I got on first try. This one I re-drilled 3 times. This, I'm not even gonna bother. I meant to have them obviously parallel to each other, but what happened was I flipped one when I was measuring. I drilled the actual hole in the right place, the 1/2-inch hole, but the screws that hold the lamps, one of these was supposed to be either like that or like this, but I'm not even gonna whatever. So this isn't finished yet. This is just a placeholder. Basically, this is what's going to be holding the nose of the kayak, and in case I ever decide to upgrade to 17 foot, it will allow me to hold even more of the nose. So this over here, placeholder. If I do get a longer kayak, this will slide out. So new wiring all the way from there, all the way through here to the end. I finally got around to installing these. I've had the guide ones on my trailer for years, but these I never actually took time to install. So here you can see all the lights are on, everything is working. Gave myself plenty of extra cable just in case. The guide-ons that I'll be installing, that should be here next week, will go somewhere up front-ish to kind of channel and corral my kayak into place. So this is it, midway progress, and I guess my next clip will be of me installing things once I get them. Alright, so made quite a bit of progress on this thing. It's done. Just to kind of go over a couple of things. First and foremost, those pieces over here. I like the idea. I don't like the execution. Reason being is because the actual cradles, the front and the rear, there's 2. They're way too short. The problem is they don't make them like this, but bigger. That's not to say that I can't or won't eventually find one. It's just that every single one of them has been designed for a much wider frame. So for time being, I just decided to use what they had at the store. I'm gonna keep looking and actually get myself. I would prefer a bigger, either a wider cradle over here or a higher cradle, because as you see, like, this is completely unacceptable. I mean, granted, I haven't tied this off or anything like that. Just one of those things, but nevertheless. So that's holding up the front, and right around where Mirage Drive would go on a Hobie Pro Angler, which is right about here. If I ever decide to get me a 17-foot version of this kayak, basically all that stuff is going to move forward, including the nose and the winch. So that's gonna go over here, and then those two as well, kind of over here. This, oh my goodness. Okay, so let me tell you what this is not. This is not something that's meant to be holding up the kayak, which is why it's going to look weird like this. Bear with me. In the future, if I do get a 17-foot Hobie, the length of the mid portion of the kayak is going to be much longer, and so this will be far more filled in, if you know what I mean. And if need me, I could always move them. So the main purpose for them is not to hold anything up, but rather guide kayak into its resting space over here. So you might wonder, well, why didn't I use the same guides as I've been using for years? And I thought about it. The problem is where I want to mount them, all the way over there, is just a little bit too far. And I feel that while I could have used that, it didn't seem to me that the distance between the frame to where I need it would be wide enough. I don't know, either way. The guide-ons, they cost about the same-ish, more or less. So we're gonna see how it works out. But that being said, once I get, or if I get the longer kayak, you know, this portion of the longer kayak is going to be resting against this. So what's happening is, once I back into the water, or actually rather coming back, you know, my first goal is to throw a rope over one of the guides to kind of guide the front of the kayak, which would be there-ish, right? Then you start pulling, and assuming the wind is blowing like it is right now, this kayak is going to go through the gates and then go that way or go this way. I ran into that problem. That problem also exists if there's any kind of current, and that's annoying as hell. So I need the nose of the kayak to go exactly where I want it. And so in this case, having this guide over here and that guy over there, it will just get me there. And if I do decide to get me a longer kayak, it will actually be beneficial. Like I said, am I happy with those? That's questionable, to be honest with you. This is made by Vivor, the Amazon type brand, and if you pay attention to where the U-bolts are over there, they're skinny. They're really flimsy, they're really skinny. If this had to hold an actual boat, an actual jet ski, an actual anything, I don't think they would hold. And you could even see in the holes that those U-bolts are not filling out the holes, right? Whereas when you look at, this is made by Smith. This is what I bought at Harbor Freight, I mean not Harbor Freight, Best Pro Shops. And I've been using it for years. And so if you look at the U-bolts here, I mean, they're substantial. Like, you could dent you know, an elephant on top of it. I would very much have preferred something that thick for the guidons, but this isn't supposed to be weight bearing, nor it will ever be weight bearing. But if I ever feel that those U-bolts are giving way, I'm just gonna upgrade to bigger ones. I did think it was kind of cheeky on their side to provide that, but nevertheless, regardless of what the current is doing, regardless of anything else, once I have the nose of the kayak where it is, I'm gonna be able to just pull out. And so this is my rope that I've been using to launch over here. I need to train myself because I've been throwing my rope over the guideposts. I now also need to like right down the center, and then also probably around this. So if I'm standing on the other side, I could pull, and it kind of I'm gonna keep an eye on that over there. We'll just see. But nevertheless, oh, another thing, if you notice, there's a space in between. Oops, let me get the camera here. There's space in between the kayak and that, and that's by design. I want to use them just to guide the kayak in. That's all. And like I said, if I do get the longer kayak, this portion, multiply that by 2. So the nose of the kayak will be more like, or that portion of the longer kayak is going to be like here. So those are actually going to be resting against this. Let's see. I already talked about the lights, I think, in previous video. Trying out a little do-it-yourselfer exercise. This looks weird, but it's functional. And that's all that matters. So inside this, there is a amp meter, voltmeter. I thought about purchasing another Victron battery monitor like I have in my motorhome, but it was kind of a little bit more on the cost prohibitive side. So I went with cheapo Amazon. Well, cheapo is a relative term these days. It's like 40 something bucks. But nevertheless, the actual shunt is in this little junction box, and then the wire kind of zip tied to one of the rails. And here you could see battery percentage and the voltage, and this is all zip tied. It gives me amp hours and the draw and the charge. And the way I've done this, despite the fact that the battery is 100 amp hours, this is lead acid, so I decided to set it to 50. Rather than going from 100 to 50, it's just easier to go from 50 to 0. And so this weekend, I'm actually, that's the reason why I got my kayak out. I'm gonna test that theory out and see. I'm going to Cockroach Bay here in Florida, so in anticipation of that, I had to re-upload my map of Cockroach Bay. So I have my Lowrance mapping and CNAV and all that stuff. I have my swim through GPS and also kind of routes that I want to take. So once I get there, I'll be able to go through all the motions. It's gonna be my first time in Cockroach Bay in about 8 years or so, maybe 9 years. I used to go all the time, but then moved more inland. So kayak is done. Kayak trailer is done. There's really very little to add to this. And like I said, if I do end up getting the longer kayak, that's moving up front, this is moving, that's moving, that's probably staying. So I hope this serves as an inspiration to somebody who is looking to do a similar kind of thing. As you see, the nose is so much longer, so I'll be testing that out hopefully tomorrow and seeing how it all fits into the greater picture of things. All right, till next time.